Egyptian god Thoth was identified with the Greek Hermes. And during the Hellenistic period, some intellectuals believed that the gods had originally been humans who lived in ancient times, and Hermes Trismegistus received the same treatment. In many Hermetic texts, he appears as a human, and by the 1st century CE, Hermes Trismegistus was recognized as the quintessential philosopher, magician, and divine sage of the distant past. In reality, all of the texts of the Hermetica are pseudonymous. The scholar Christian Bull theorizes they were composed by Hellenized Egyptian priests. The Roman geographer Strabo, for example, mentions Egyptian priests living in Thebes, educated in philosophy and astronomy, who attribute to Hermes all wisdom of this particular kind. But whoever wrote these texts, they really knew their philosophy. Hermetic texts show influence especially from Middle Platonism, but also from Stoicism and Neo-Pythagorean thought, as well as Jewish thought in some cases. The oldest texts in the Hermetica may date as far back as the 2nd or 3rd century BCE, though some of the more famous philosophical texts date from the 1st to 3rd century CE. And there were a lot of Hermetic texts. Ancient people threw around what were probably wild exaggerations. The philosopher Iamblichus, for example, shares a report that there were 20,000 books attributed to Hermes. The Egyptian priest Manetho claims over 36,000. Exaggeration or not, there were many, many texts attributed to Hermes Trismegistus or one of his disciples, and most of them are lost to us. So our picture of Hermetism is incomplete, and these books cover a huge array of topics. Now, scholars over the years have categorized the Hermetica into technical texts and religio-philosophical texts. The technical books cover topics like astrology, the power of gemstones and plants, alchemy and magic. The philosophical ones discuss the structure and origins of the cosmos, the nature of human beings, the properties of God, and how to ascend after death. As with Ment, incomplete. And these books cover a huge array of topics. Now, scholars over the years have categorized the Hermetica into technical texts and religio-philosophical texts. The technical books cover topics like astrology, the power of gemstones and plants, alchemy and magic. The philosophical ones discuss the structure and origins of the cosmos, the nature of human beings, the properties of God, and how to ascend after death. As with many scholarly categories, though, these are modern labels that wouldn't have made sense to the ancient people writing and reading these texts. You can find ritual techniques in the philosophical books, and you can find philosophy in the technical books, so don't think of these as stark, hard and fast categories. One characteristic that the Hermetic philosophical books do share is that they're not presented in a way that a modern reader might expect.
So, what's so different about them?
Oh, hi. Well, they're usually written as interactive dialogues between two characters, usually Hermes Trismegistus and one of his disciples, like Isis, Asclepius, or his son Tot.
Oh, so like a Socratic dialogue.
Well, not exactly. Both Socratic dialogues and Hermetic dialogues use the conversational format, but the tone and aim between the two genres is very different. So in Socratic dialogues, the tone is investigative and critical. Sometimes it's even lighthearted, with Socrates engaging in back and forth exchanges with his companions to get them to uncover contradictions and to push them toward deeper understanding of a particular concept. While in Hermetic dialogues, the tone is much more didactic and mystical. Hermes Trismegistus is just imparting divine wisdom to a passive student who's just asking questions without much pushback. Got it?
I'm gonna need a citation for that.
Okay, fine. Sources in the description below, as usual. The most famous philosophical text...
How's everybody doing? Guys, like the stream.
17 treatises that were compiled into one text centuries later, sometime during the Byzantine period. So while these are among the most well-known Hermetic texts, they should not be considered a Hermetic canon of authoritative texts, like what the New Testament is for Christianity. Other compilations include some texts found among the non-Hammadi codices, and there's also 40 excerpts in an anthology by the 5th century author Ioannis Stobaeus. With so many texts, and many of them fragmentary, it's impossible to identify a consistent, systematic Hermetic theology, but we can identify some key themes shared across these texts. And a good place to begin is the Hermetic understanding of cosmogony, the origins of the cosmos. This is primarily laid out in a text called Harmondres. This is a dialogue between a being named Harmondres and Hermes Trismegistus. Harmondres is the teacher in this case and seems to be a reference to God himself. According to this text, the essence of God is mind, or nous. Creation begins with God, or I guess I should say, the first mind, speaking into existence his son.
Oh, do they? I'm glad they do. I'm glad you like pre-rendered backgrounds.
The logos descends into nature.
I'm glad you like it.
While the demiurge creates
On my Twitch, I have a Twitch. I just opened one up, and I called it
Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn.
It's a retro bro 8451. So look for me there. I'm gonna put up. I haven't put up like a. What do you call it? Like a picture. I'm gonna put up a picture soon. But yeah, I love retro games, man. I'm 42 years old. I fucking love retro games. Want to see my other arcade? Look. I got this one. I got that one. I just like having fun, you know what I mean? Especially if I earned it. But anyways, yeah, I'm glad you like pre-rendered backgrounds.
These in turn come Mondres. This is a dialogue between a being named Mondres and Hermes Trismegistus. Mondres is the teacher in this case and seems to be a reference to God himself.
How's it going,
According to this
Elizabeth?
text, the essence of God is mind, or nous. Creation begins with God, or I guess I should say, the first mind, speaking into existence his son, the Logos, together with the second mind, aka the
God
Cosmic
damn.
or
Yo,
Demiurge.
people, yo, you know
The
what's really
Logos
funny?
descends into nature
Because I try to
between
play
four
like new games
elements,
to
while the
like
Demiurge creates 7 heavenly
I try to play
rulers.
new games for you guys, and like not that many people come on. When I start playing old fucking dude, I was playing Nintendo games on my other arcade, like some old fucking ugly ass Nintendo game, and people just started like flowing in. Like it's weird, man. Like I guess people really like the nostalgia, you know? Oh shit. Son of a bitch. I said, no more Mr. Fucking Nice Guy. This is a save room. Maybe I should play it. Do you guys want to check out another PlayStation 1 game? Well, let me dump this. Let me dump this. Damn, yo, people like old games, bro. Shit, I was not aware. I thought you guys liked the new shit. Damn, bro. I guess, you know, people like what they like. Let me take this here. I mean, I have the Resident Evil 3 remake also. I love that game. I just started it yesterday, dude. So, and I have it on this arcade. So, might play it later. Actually, let me make some. Where's my fucking machine?
This innate text, the essence of God is mind, or nous. Creation begins with God, or I guess I should say, the first mind, speaking into existence his son, the Logos, together with the second mind, aka the craftsman or demiurge. The Logos descends into nature to become the 4 elements, while the demiurge creates 7 heavenly rulers, the 7 classical planets, the Moon, Sun, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. These in turn set creation in motion, producing animals and other living things from the elements. This cosmogony is largely inspired by Platonic philosophy. In Plato's Timaeus, Plato shares an elaborate cosmic model that formed the basis for how philosophers understood cosmogony for the next few centuries. Plato described the cosmos as a great sphere, with Earth at its center. The stars and the 7 classical planets revolved around the Earth in their own concentric spheres. The planets were regarded as deities, and the cosmos itself was filled with souls and other intermediary spirits. Everything was composed of 4 primal elements: earth, air, fire, and water, and the world was created not by the supreme God who existed beyond the cosmos, but by a second divine being called the craftsman or demiurge. Furthermore, the creation of the world required the uniting of two opposing forces, necessity or ananke, which brings about activity and disorder, and intellect or nous, which subjugates necessity to order and reason.
Are you wearing 7 layers and still freezing your man nipples? You need the new 340 GSM miniature grade fair skin braid to go comfortable in the wild. It's the ultimate 10-part tactical hoodie that blocks wind, repels wind, and violates from incredible when otherwise. It's the only winter hoodie that's great for working, fishing, hunting, camping, or conquering foreign lands. Thousands of men around the world already love wearing the bearskin hoodie instead of their regular hoodies, with over 21,000 5-star reviews on Trustpilot. Plus, now you can attach the new Heavy Storm rain jacket to the inside of the hoodie for an instant 10,000 millimeter.
Shut up.
Most Greco-Roman philosophical systems, including Middle Platonism, Stoicism, Gnostic Christianity, and Hermetism, were based on this framework, but each had its own spin on it. Hermetic texts like the Poimandres share a very lofty, transcendent view of God, whom they call the Father. As the scholar David Whitwer puts it, the Hermetic God is a supreme, ineffable being who transcends language, bodies, and all perceptible reality. In a writing called Hermes to Asclepius, Hermes tells his pupil, God is not mind, but he is the cause of mind's being. He is not spirit, but the cause of spirit's being. And he is not light, but the cause of light's being. Now, we don't always find agreement in the exact specifics of the Hermetic view of God, but it's clear that the Hermetic God is one, is supreme, and is utterly transcendent. Poimandres also describes a demiurge or craftsman, which might sound familiar if you've seen my videos on Gnosticism or Valentinian Christianity. Several ancient groups around this time believed in a lower creator god who crafted the material world. While the demiurge in these other traditions is either ignorant or even malicious, the demiurge in Hermetism is closer to Plato's idea of the craftsman. He's not necessarily a bad guy, he's just second to the ultimate god, in this case a second nous or mind. Hermetism also shares a very lofty view of humanity. In Poimandres, the supreme god creates a primordial androgynous human. The text says, Nous, the father of all, who is life and light, gave birth to a man like himself, whom he loved as his own child. This human is described as having the image of God, and here we see some influence from the book of Genesis. This androgynous, primordial human is allowed to join in the demiurge's work, creating the material world, what the text calls nature. When this human sees their own reflection in water, the human desires to inhabit nature, causing the primal human and nature to embrace. And the text implies sexually, because this embrace produces a being that is uniquely comprised of a mortal body and an immortal soul. Poimandres says, for this reason, of all living beings on earth, man alone is twofold, mortal because of the body, immortal because of the real man. Real man in the sense of an essential human, our true self. Later, all living things, including the human, are split into male and female so they can multiply. However, humans retain this dual nature, an immortal essence that is divine, and a mortal body that is tied to the world and controlled by fate. Capital F, fate. In Hermetism, fate could be described as a cosmic force or external energy that governs the world and imposes action on it, and was closely related to the movement of the stars and planets. One Hermetic text says the stars serve fate. One can neither escape fate nor protect oneself from the powerful influence of the stars. The stars are the instrument of fate. By fate's decree, all things reach their intended end in nature and among human beings. Fate was also administered by the decans, the Egyptian zodiac. These were 36 constellations that were important for tracking the calendar, and they had astrological significance as well. They were conceptualized as Egyptian astral deities who controlled 10 days each for a total of 360 days. Hermetists believed that the decans, together with the 7 planets, could cause major events like famines, droughts, and earthquakes. But fate really only controls our bodies and the world of matter, not our true essential self. The divine part of humanity can break free from fate. Another Hermetic text reads, we have the power to choose. To choose the better is up to us. Choosing when dictated by vices draws near to bodily nature. Since all intelligent reason in us has free choice, fate does not control it. So this dual divine material nature means that the mundane world can distract us or turn us away from the correct path. And some Hermetic texts describe this human condition somewhat pessimistically. Andres reads, "He who loves the body which is born from the error of desire remains wandering in the dark and sensibly suffers the effects of death."
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it, just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44, a complete AI creation platform. Describe what you want, and watch it take shape. You can plan, customize, and expand in any direction. From tools built for one, to platforms ready for many. From passion projects to enterprise growth.
But other texts describe it more optimistically. Humanity's dual material and divine nature means that humans occupy an honored middle position between gods and material things. The Hermetic text called Asclepius reads, "Wondering at heavenly beings and worshipping them, tending earthly beings and governing them." So humanity stands between the earthly and divine. But